Hello, I'm Jordan Midler, and today we're going to be talking about 7 of the hardest modern video games. Video games are supposed to be fun, allegedly. They're a way to unwind after a long day of hard graft, smashing rocks in the street, or whatever it is people do. That's why by and large most video games are generally simple enough to complete. However, occasionally a game will come along that is so difficult you'll find yourself questioning not only why you ever bothered starting it, but why you ever bothered starting playing games in the first place. You could have learned to play the piano, but no, here you are shouting at pixels. You idiot. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Who was it that played the Dark Souls games and thought, I get that difficulty cranked up a good few levels? Developed by the studio that apparently gets their kicks from unjamming a printer, From Software, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a Japanese flavoured repeated kick in the balls that requires mastering timing so precise it'd be easier to kick a football into a bin from 3 miles away attached to a moving train. There is nothing more dispiriting than believing that you're finally coming to grips with the way a game controls in the nanosecond timing windows, only for some new enemy that doesn't conform to those timings at all to decorate their front room with your insides. Watching speedruns of the game is like watching those people that just sprint through American Ninja Warrior trying to take a shit in a busy train station. The Dark Souls games get a lot of hype for how hard they are, but you can mostly get through them by hiding behind a shield and rolling around your enemy. Sekiro, like Bloodborne, takes the shields are for pricks approach, meaning that if you're not handy with the blade, you might as well uninstall. Which is exactly what I did. Maybe I'll get back to it, but I'm not sure my heart can take it. I even did the unlimited XP glitch and still got my arse removed and handed back to me. If a game is so hard that even when you start to cheat you can't beat it, it's probably time to pack it in. Getting over it with Bennett Foddy. The most frustrating thing about getting over it with Bennett Foddy is that as you're falling through the air, recounting the fatal mistake that led you to this moment, you're watching all of the areas you previously slaved through whiz by, mocking you like you've jumped off a building plastered in moments from your life when you weren't such a descending prick. Not only this, but the game comes across all quap with a degree in philosophy when the culprit himself begins to talk to you, trying to quell this rising sea of unspeakable rage surging through you. His presence is some of the most masterful trolling enacted in a video game. It makes you wish you could take the pickaxe and ram it through his jaw, if only to get a bit more elevation up to the next point. Super Meat Boy. Ah, Super Meat Boy, all the platforms I've bought you on, only to be filled with regret several hours later when I remember that it's a game developed by the devil himself and it was designed to break more controllers than FIFA ever could. Super Meat Boy is such a masterful platformer that if you're honest with yourself, the frustration isn't coming from the game, it's coming from you simply not being good enough to get to the next stage. Everything is completely fair and it's all about execution, although admittedly that kind of self-realisation is a bit difficult when the blood starts dripping from your nose at 5 in the morning following another hour mindlessly launching yourself against the same set of spikes on repeat. Cuphead. Now, there's documented proof on this channel of just how incredible I am at Cuphead, but unbelievably, those historic victories were actually edited down retellings of the hours and hours spent trying to desperately not throw my Xbox, my controller, and myself through a window. Cuphead is just patterns. Every boss has a pattern, and if you can learn it and master it, you can beat it. But that is like saying a plane is just buttons. If you know what they all do, you can fly it. The addition of the excellent score and brilliant art design, which frankly I think was an intentional choice as a distraction technique, make the game an extremely tense and difficult experience. It makes beating just one of the bosses feel about 10 times as satisfying as completing a normal game, a feeling that soon subsides after you get to the next boss and witness the next 12 hours of your life disappear to a giant clown, which serves as an accurate reflection of the player who thought they were good at this game. Celeste. Celeste is a beautiful story of a girl climbing a literal and metaphorical mountain which deals with mental health, abusive relationships, and social media. However, you may miss some of those themes while you're screaming a chorus of swear words as your character cheerfully falls into the abyss. Celeste gave me huge Super Meat Boy vibes, which in the context served more as traumatic flashbacks. Like most of the games in this video, it's all about the execution of mechanics and getting over the mental hurdle of something seeming impossibly difficult. It's like a metaphor, you know? I sound flip, but it's actually one of the best examples of the themes of a game and the player's progression of learning to play it being in sync. Celeste also peppers, or should I say strawberries, collectibles in view of the player, so those of us with a collecting random nonsense fetish are paralysed into staying on a screen until everything is grabbed, which of course contributes to the number of times you die by a factor of about 1 billion. The Witness. Puzzle games seem like they'd be the hardest things in the world to make. How are you as a developer supposed to strike a chord between something that's challenging but not too difficult or too easy? Something that doesn't require constant explanation but isn't just going to give up the answer? Well, in the case of Jonathan Blow's The Witness, his answer was to make a game as hard as he possibly could around the concept of lines. All you really do in The Witness is walk up to wee screens and draw lines. These could be as easy as having to copy a pattern on the other side of the screen, or so complicated that even after looking at a guide you have literally no idea how the person came to that conclusion. The first time you discover a secret overworld puzzle in The Witness, it makes you feel like you've seen through the game. Like you and Jonathan Blow are smugly nodding to each other over just how intelligent you are. Yes, line puzzles, fantastic. Demon's Souls. Well, what would a list of modern hard games be without the one that brought this trend roaring back into fashion? Demon's Souls is to modern action games what Star Wars was to visual effects in cinema, or what Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion was to all of music. Most people chart the re-emergence of difficult games to Dark Souls, Demon's Souls' much more popular and successful successor. But the DNA of Dark Souls was forged in From's revolutionary cult darling. Initially released only in Japan, it was a game that was antithetical to the ever-increasing slog of easy-to-complete, forgettable action titles that the PS3 generation began with. I imported the game after hearing about it on a few podcasts. Now, I expected it to be hard, but for it to be so obtuse, so willfully deceptive and unhelpful in its design, I had no idea what I signed up for. I kept slogging away at it because I paid a lot for it being an import, but I just couldn't stop getting absolutely wrecked. I had no patience and no willingness to learn, and well, to be honest, the game had very little willingness to teach me. It's the greatest proof of concept in history for what became Dark Souls, a game that came to define action games, the Dark Souls of X. How many games are used as a shorthand to describe an entire genre? I'm mostly waffling now because I only ever beat 2 bosses and watched the rest on YouTube because I'm a fraud. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the hardest modern video games. Let me know if you've completed any of them, or all of them if you're a real tryhard. Remember to subscribe to BBC The Social Gaming, and until next time, I'm Jordan Midler. See you later.